Welcome to Security Nation, an ESA podcast that brings you the voice of electronic security and life safety. We bring on security pros to discuss the latest industry happenings, new technology, and best practices, telling your story to become the ever-present voice in an ever-changing industry. I'd like to introduce this episode's guest. We have Scott Hightower, President of Verified Security, which is based in Atlanta and specializes in providing managed physical security services for its customer base. He works closely with his team to deliver physical security and life safety solutions to a variety of commercial customers in the healthcare, retail, manufacturing, and office verticals. These solutions include hosted video management systems, cloud-based card access control systems, and remote-managed intrusion detection and fire alarm systems. Scott is also the chairman of ESA's Executive Management Group, or EMP Group. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Scott.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Good to be with you, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just going to jump right in. Would you be able to tell our listeners a little bit about your background in the industry?
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the security industry for just about 15 years. So, unlike some people that I've gotten to know in the industry, I didn't grow up in the industry, but I did grow up in a similar industry. I started in telecommunications, worked in the cable television industry for the first part of my career, and then made the jump into security about 15 years ago. And so I've got my own company. I've got a great team working with me, and I love the industry. And it's been great to be part of ESA because I've been able to build some fantastic relationships and really learn from people who've been doing it a lot longer than I have. So it's been a great experience so far, and all the people that I've gotten to know and work with have just been terrific, really fantastic people.
That's great. So you mentioned, I'd mentioned in your bio that you're the chairman of our EMP group. So for our listeners that may not know, would you be able to kind of describe what that group is and your role within it?
Sure, absolutely. So EMP stands for Executive Management Professionals, and really it's a fancy way of saying it's a networking group for senior leaders in the security industry. So it's really focused on company owners or senior leaders in security companies, and it's the networking group. So essentially, these are small groups that we put together, usually 5, 6, 7 people that meet monthly, though the frequency could change. And it's a way to bounce ideas off of other people, off of peers, and get your questions answered, and generally learn together. How to grow your business and how to maintain your business. So it's like using my example where I was new to the industry now 15 years ago, it's a chance to talk to other people who've been through certain situations that I had never experienced. So if I run into something that I hadn't seen before, with the EMP groups, I can bounce an idea off or say, hey, I've run into this, how did you guys handle it? Or what did you learn? So, there's some great men and women that are part of the group and part of the association. And so it's just a fantastic opportunity to get to know a good group of people, but also to learn and grow together.
No, that's great. I mean, that's definitely one of our, main goals, main offerings at ESA is to create an environment where, iron can sharpen iron, so that not everyone needs to reinvent the wheel every time for themselves. So no, that's great. So are you the incoming chairman for this group? Is that correct, or am I mistaken on that?
I am. No, you're exactly right. So I'm the incoming chair for ESA. So that essentially, I'm help kind of manage the groups and manage the program, and bring people in, answer questions, become kind of an ambassador for the program, try to recruit new people into the program. So all those different hats I get to wear in this role, and it's a little bit of a hidden gem program because not everybody knows about it. And that's one of our goals, is to make sure more people are aware of it, because we've got people who are ESA members who learn about it for the first time and say, I wish I had known about this program. I would have taken advantage of it. So it's definitely something that we want to promote more and get the word out. But it's a fantastic program. And what's interesting is, these are all people in the industry, and in some cases they may even be competitors, but it's amazing to see that people are willing to share, their information and trust each other. So it's it's really a great opportunity. And they're small groups, so you get to know everybody really well. It's not, if you're in an EMP group, you're not in a group with 25 or 30 people. We're talking about 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 people in a group. So it's a really, really good opportunity, and I'm excited to be the incoming chair and look forward to, helping get the word out and help grow the program.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of our goals with this episode here is maybe we can, get the word out and provide some, information so people know a little bit more of how the dynamic works. So you mentioned, sometimes potentially there could be like competitors and stuff. How do we ensure that like competitors aren't put in the same group, or is the content of a lot of the meetings, does it not matter if they are in the same group? Like, how do we handle situations like that?
Yeah, good question. So we do try to build the groups where there aren't two fierce head-to-head competitors in the same group. And it's interesting, though, because we have a few groups where there are people who are in the same region that are in the group. But generally, when we put those together, we'll ask them, is this going to be an issue? And I've been in a group in our, with another company in our market, in the Atlanta market. But the market in our case is so big. That company had a much bigger residential customer base, whereas our company, we're pretty much just commercial security. So, we talked about it and said, hey, is this a problem? We okay with sharing information? And both decided no big deal. And it was no issue whatsoever. But, that's not everybody. Some people are a little more concerned about being with a direct competitor, particularly if they're going head to head. So we try to be sensitive to those and try to adjust the group so that we don't have two people in the exact same marketplace, in the same group. So we definitely take that into account. We put these groups together.
No, that's great. This question kind of is more like a broad industry question versus just related to the EMP group. What would you say right now is some of our industry's biggest challenges, and what is ESA's role? Maybe the EMP group plays a part of that role, but I don't know. What's your opinion?
Yeah, no, good question. So, I think it probably will come as no surprise that one of the big challenges that everybody talks about in the industry is finding, hiring, retaining talented people in their organizations, right? I mean, we hear that again and again. It's no different than many other industries right now that, have a hard time finding and retaining quality people. So our industry, what makes our industry, I think, a little unique is that we're often looking for skilled tradespeople. And it used to be there was, I think, much more an emphasis on, developing tradespeople, and there were trade schools, and there were more opportunities for people to pursue a career in a trade like security, technical trade. And there's been less emphasis over the years in the trades. So I think that that's a particularly specific challenge for our industry, is how to do that. And I think where the EMP groups come in is that there can be some great opportunities for brainstorming on, what's worked for you. So if I'm in a group as a company owner, I could say to the other company owners, we're struggling with trying to find, new technical people. What tactics have worked for you? Where have you found them? How have you hired them? What's your starting pay scale? There's great opportunities to kind of dig in. And, we're not really talking about sharing competitive information. It's more about, give me an idea of where your starting range is, or give me an idea of your benefits package. And the great thing about these small groups is that people really get to trust each other. They get to know and trust each other. So they're willing to share that information, and they're not worried that it's going to be taken out of context or shared outside the group. So, you build kind of these strong, kind of confidential relationships, and people are willing to share. So I think certainly, finding and keeping talented people is a big part. And then the other thing more recently that's been a challenge is just, supply chain. Everybody kind of uses the generic term, but finding hardware, and I've seen the groups help each other that way too, because I've seen company owners say, we are trying to find, this component or this piece of hardware or this system. And I've heard someone else pipe up and say, we actually have 20 or 30 of those in the warehouse, and I think we could probably let a couple go if you need, you need one or two. So, it's just a great opportunity to work together, or someone may say, we don't have any, but I heard that this distributor has a bunch of them in a warehouse. So, I think these groups really can come together to solve solve some of these challenges that pop up in our industry.
That's great. And then a question that just came to my mind is there an additional cost to join the group, or like what kind of gatekeeping or like barriers are there for an ESA member being able to join one of these groups?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no additional cost. So as an ESA member, you'd be eligible. The only thing that we do when we're forming the groups is we're really looking for senior leaders. So we're looking for usually company owners and perhaps their direct reports. So because the topics we're talking about are usually a little broader and more strategic, right, and not as tactical. So, someone who's, monitoring center manager probably wouldn't find the content as relevant. But yes, usually it's company owners, or it may be a company owner and ton of direct reports, senior leaders. So that's really the only thing we do. We ask that anyone who's interested fill out a form, and then that just kind of gets screening to make sure the person's a good fit. And then it comes to us, and we put the groups together. So yeah, but there's absolutely, for those that are eligible, there's absolutely no additional cost. It's all part of another great,
that's great
ESA member benefit.
So what would you say to someone who is, would say something along the lines of, I am so busy, I am just trying to run my business here, I am dealing with all those issues that you just described, the workforce, the supply chain, how do I have the time in my schedule to join another group? What would you say to someone who, maybe has some of those concerns front of mind?
Yeah, I would say you can't afford not to, right? I think that everybody's busy. Absolutely everybody's busy. Even these days, everybody seems to be busier than ever. So I think that busy is the word. But I think, there's a saying that many people have probably heard that says, if you want to grow and develop, you have to work, on your business, not always in your business. And I think all of us do some of both, working in the business, but also maybe need to spend more time working on the business. And that working on the business is where you kind of pull yourself out, right? And you think on a broader basis, you think more strategically. And I think this is the time to do that. And so I think if you're going to be successful, you have to do both, and you have to make the time. And I think that anyone can really make the time. What we're really talking about is most of these groups meet once a month. We're talking about an hour or two a month. It's a small commitment in terms of the overall number of hours in a month, but it's really beneficial. And the people that take advantage of it say this is fantastic, and I would never give it up. And so we'll meet usually a couple times a year in person. So like at ESX, we try to get a group together. Maybe another opportunity to get groups together face to face. But the rest of the time, it's usually just a Zoom, like a Zoom video, Microsoft Teams or Zoom, some sort of video call. So it's not a huge time commitment, but the people who are really engaged just
I agree.
Can't say
when I was at
it.
ESX in June, I talked to a few people who were members of the group. And all of them only had great things to say. I remember, I think nearly every person I talked to said it may be the single most, game-changing thing in my career in the industry. As far as just the people I met and the things that I've learned and the information I was able to gain and give, it kind of revolutionized their time in the industry. So, me personally, I've only heard good things from members of the group.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's great. That is, echoes kind of what I hear from people. And, there are lots of networking groups out, generally out there. I'm sure lots of people have heard of other networking groups. But, what makes this unique is this is all industry peers, right? This is all in our security industry. So there are people who have, facing the same challenges, the same issues as other members of the group. And so it's just a great opportunity to pick people's brains, and the ones I've seen, like I said, everyone's really willing to share and be forthcoming, and so it's great to see that kind of sharing, because it's the rising tide lifts all boats, if you know that saying, right? So it's just everybody working together and generating success and growth. So it's really a fantastic opportunity, and I think really the big thing is, and which is what we're working on right now, is getting the word out, because the people who, most of the people that I've seen get involved that were not involved just weren't fully aware of it, or they may have heard, EMP, what is that? I don't know what that is. And so, just understanding how the program works and the benefits of it, I think is a great first step.
So, shifting gears once again, what is some advice that you would give to colleagues in the industry, or maybe conversely, maybe some mistakes you've made that you would like to share as cautionary tales with your 15 years in the industry?
Sure. So, if you want to talk about mistakes I've made, we might need another hour or two. I've made plenty of them, and I'm happy to share them. But all joking aside, I think everybody makes mistakes in their career, and certainly me being new to the industry, I did make plenty of them early on. My goal only is to try to make less of them as time goes on, and so hopefully I'm succeeding at that goal. But there are things that you, particularly if you're new to an industry or new to parts of the industry, right? I mean, I've seen people who had maybe targeted certain vertical, commercial verticals for a long time and decided to expand, or only work with certain product lines and decided to expand, right? And so every time you branch out, there's an opportunity or a risk that you're going to make some sort of mistake getting into it. And so I've seen, the members of these groups work together on situations like that. So for example, I'm a security company owner, which I am, and let's say that I have been using, vendor A for 20 years for my security hardware, and maybe something's changed in that relationship, or maybe I'm not happy, and maybe there's something where I'm thinking about using another supplier. Well, I could just go jump in with the other supplier without doing any sort of research, or I can ask the members of my EMP group, hey, does anyone work with this supplier over here that I'm considering? And the chances are that someone is, and that person or those people can say, great company to work with, but here A, B, C things you need to know. Or they might say, don't make that change, right? So that right there, if you think about those opportunities to bounce those kinds of ideas, definitely can sort of de-risk the situation and make changes sort of less scary, and sort of look at what could happen ahead of time so that you're prepared versus going in blindly. So I think, those kinds of things are tremendously beneficial, and I've seen that, and I've seen people dedicate entire conversations to working with a certain supplier and, what they're finding and what works and what doesn't work. So that's where I see, in my background, where I didn't have an EMP, it was a lot easier to make mistakes like that, right? So all right, I'm going to go switch and do this over here and kind of walk in, and then, oh no, what have I got myself into? And then after maybe some costly learning, kind of rework and get back on the right path. And so I think that's a case where that could happen. I think, the other thing that people will often run into is they at times will try to say yes to everything, which is a mistake we probably made early on when I got into the industry. It's like, oh, you want us to do that? Sure, we'll go do that. Oh, you want us to do this? We'll go do this. And what I found is you can't be everything to everybody, and that when we could specialize, with certain product lines, and in our case, focus on commercial verticals and using certain hardware suppliers that we could really become experts in, that's when things became more manageable, became better. And so that's one thing I could share for anybody who's newer to the industry, or newer to certain products or verticals, that, just be careful not to say yes to everything, because you can, really drive yourself crazy.
No, yeah,
and
I remember
yourself
hearing this, and it really struck me. I don't remember who said it. It's probably a quote from somebody famous. I don't know. But it was something along the lines of, if you're a startup or a business, it is much easier to die from choking than die from starving. And, that could be choking on saying yes to way too many, customers, saying yes to offering too many services and products. I mean, it could be a lot of things. But I don't know. I remember I really kind of thought about that. I think very often, business owners, business leaders will think like, we just need to keep going, we need to keep growing, we need to, keep adding more value, which those things are true. But at the same time, if you keep saying yes, eventually you're spreading yourself too thin in one direction if you're not too careful.
That's exactly right. And look, in our industry, which is very, focused on technology and learning technology, if you say yes to everything that comes along, then essentially you're having to learn new technology, all the time. And there's just a limit to how much of that you can do versus specializing, picking a platform or a handful of platforms and specializing in those platforms and becoming experts. Because I can tell you over the years, there have been many cases where we had business referred to us because someone else said, "Oh, you have that platform.
Yep.
Call the team at Verified Security. They are experts in that platform. They know it inside and out." And we've had other security companies in Atlanta refer business to us because someone had a system that they didn't work on very often, but that we worked on all the time. And they said, "Oh no, call those guys. They know what they're doing." And we've done the same. Like, we don't do a lot of residential security, so we'll have people call us and we'll refer them to people that we've gotten to know through ESA who do more residential security and pass business that way. So, yeah, I mean, you have competitors who are partners who are competitors, and it's it's always an interesting industry in that way, and we can all work together. And there's a big enough pie. There's lots of business for everyone. But I do think there is always the risk that if you try to take on too much, to your point, you can spread yourself too thin.
Definitely,
and it's just not a pleasant experience.
So what would you say to someone who is, not an ESA member, but is considering it?
Oh, I would say it's the best investment you'll ever make in the industry. I think that just the learning opportunities, and the learning opportunities come in many ways, right? So there are, like ESX, is a big learning opportunity every year, and there's great speakers and great educational sessions and great networking because you're with people outside of the sessions that you get to know. And then opportunities like EMP within ESA, that's a great networking and learning opportunity. ESA hosts educational webinars. There's training, the whole training program through ESA. I mean, there's just I can go on and on and on. That could be a whole nother hour. But the opportunities to take advantage of learning and networking, those are the ones that I've found to be really beneficial. I joined early when I first got into the industry. I said, I don't know as much as some of these people, but I need to get in with a good association to try to meet some people and learn. And I've been a member for years, and it's really been incredibly beneficial. And just the friendships I've made. I mean, I've got people I see every year at the ESX show, and they're like, hey, it's great to see you. How have you been? We'll go catch up and hear how everyone's doing. And then some great learning comes out of that. You're like, hey, what's working for you? What new sales tactics have you been trying, or what new business have you been bringing on? And some of these conversations will just go on, for hours. So it's really a great opportunity to build relationships and to learn more and to help.
That's huge.
You, grow your business.
I remember I interviewed some people about their experience at ESX, and so many of them would say something along the lines of it being a big family reunion. That's something that's kind of unique, I think, about our industry. I've been in it. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I feel like I've been in the industry for about 6 years now. I was on the software side for a while. But that was something that I found really striking, is that it is very tight-knit. And you find groups like the EMP Group where, you can have competitors working with each other, and there is this willingness to collaborate and work together that I think is really unique and special. And if you aren't capitalizing on those, opportunities to connect and network, man, are you missing out? Because I think it does. It's something that's unique and it's special, and you should definitely take advantage of it wherever you can.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that's very well said. I think that it is amazing to see what people are willing to share. And I've seen very detailed information shared between companies just about, how they run their business, what's working. And and people are just happy to share. It's just it's great, and
No,
the
that's
relationships all formed
So,
through membership
last
in ESA.
question, since I think we have a little bit of time. What are some things that you're working on at Verified Security?
Yeah, so we are staying very busy, which is great. I always say never want to complain about being too busy, because it's much better than the alternative. But yeah, our big thing is we've just been growing. We've got great backlog of business. We just hired another 2 people, maybe bringing on a couple more. So things are going great for us. What we're finding is that the trend around managed services and cloud-based services continues. Our customers seem to really like that model, where I can, the way we sell our services is we'll provide, some of these cloud-based services, whether it's access control, video, intrusion, alarm, but we also bundle that in with service agreements. So it's kind of one monthly amount to budget, and our customers love it. Like, this is easy, and we take care of everything. And so that's been the big thing, is just continuing to grow those services and take care of all of our existing customers while continuing to add new ones. So, yeah, we haven't seen any slowdown in economic activity yet. And we have, in the Atlanta area, we have a lot of transportation and distribution logistics companies, and they just continue to grow and build out warehouses and, bring in more product and distribution. So we've just seen continued growth in that. And then, obviously we're continuing to grow our team, right? So as we add more people, making sure that they understand our values and, what our company's all about.
That's great. A lot of exciting things.
That's been
I'm happy to hear that you're growing your customer base and your employee base. That's really exciting stuff. So I guess I should say, for any of the listeners out there, let's say that they are interested in learning more about the EMP Group, if they are members, where should they go to try and enroll? Like, what should be their first steps?
Sure. So there is an EMP webpage on the ESA website, and so there's more information about the program, and I believe there's a form you could fill out there. Also, they're happy to contact me if they like. I can provide my email address. It's Scott H, SCOTTH, at verifiedsecurity.com. So anyone who's got questions or maybe interested and can't figure out what the next steps are, those people are happy. I'd be more than happy to respond to emails from anyone who wants to email me. But yeah, there is a webpage on the ESA website with information about the program and next steps. And,
all right.
And how to
you heard it here, folks. You know what to do.
Any of those options would work.
I would just like to thank you, Scott, for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Yeah, well, thank you, Hannah. It's been great talking with you. And like I said, we look forward to continue to grow the EMP program, and look forward to adding some new people this year. And so, yeah, it should be a great year.
Well, thanks again for coming on Security Nation podcast,
and
thank you, listeners who tuned in today. Make sure to subscribe. We're on all the podcasting platforms, and the full video version is available on YouTube. And if you're curious about how ESA membership can power your business, please visit our website, esaweb.org. Take some time to schedule a quick discovery call with our membership team. You'll be happy you did. And have a great day, Security Pros.